think we'll begin, if everybody's ready. We've got two requests for extensions. 2723, Abby Rosen, 585 Meadow Lane.
I move that we make that extension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And 2753, Andrew and Dana Stone, 527 on Meadow Lane.
I move we extend that 2753.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we've got three decisions. 2781, Barbara Lowy, 75 First Neck Lane.
I move we accept this decision as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And 2785, Chester's House LLC, 288 Halsey Neck Lane.
I move we accept this decision as offered.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And 2786, 354 South Main LLC, 354 South Main Street.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did anybody bring an email copy? Which one are you looking for?
Chester's house.
Did anybody bring their
I have an
email?
email copy, yeah.
Maybe you could give that to Gil. I didn't bring copies because
It's with the files.
They're usually in the files.
you could.
I can give it back to you tomorrow if you want it.
They're all over at the village office. I emailed them.
Thanks.
They're probably in the back of somebody's car.
Yeah.
I emailed them a couple of days ago.
Back of Tin's bicycle?
That's supporting.
Can't blame Tin.
Yeah. It wouldn't
That
fit
takes
on
us
the
up to the pending cases, and 2746, 550, and 554 Hill Street, that's before the planning board, so we can take no action on that until we get results from the planning board. So we don't need any motions on that. 2779, Cowles Associates LLC, 477 Little Plains Road.
Good evening for the applicant, John Bennett. This matter was before you folks a couple of months ago, and we've adjourned to try to work some things out, and also to provide some information that was requested by the board and by Rick. Just let me hand these things out now so that I don't interrupt myself in the presentation. Just get them all before you. I have for each board member a copy of a memorandum of law. I also have for each board member some copies of some deeds and some other things that were requested by Rick. And then I have, and there's also a couple of tax maps and a couple surveys in there. And then also I have a letter of support from the neighbor to the south. Two neighbors to the south, so why don't I just hand these all out?
The neighbors to the south, that'd be across the street, right?
Yep. Joshua and Marjorie Harris, and at 140 Gin Lane and 154 Gin Lane LLC. And I could be wrong, but maybe if Ms. Riley is here this evening, that's her clients.
Maybe we should just interrupt for the moment and announce for everybody's benefit that for some reason the building department office did not get the files over here for tonight's hearings.
Oh, okay.
Like they normally do.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we don't have the,
Interesting.
some of us have copies of some of the stuff, but we don't have the benefit of the files.
In other words, we don't have the latest that came in since the work session.
Oh, that's okay. This is all for you
So
tonight.
anything you file tonight, we don't have a file to put it in.
Okay.
So
What do we do?
I'm going to suggest that you keep a record or notes as to what you filed tonight.
Okay.
Perhaps Candice could keep, or Kevin, one of you, just mark on anything they submit, the official one for the file,
Okay.
put the case number on it, and then hopefully it'll eventually get into the file.
Well, we all certainly hope so.
And you can keep a note as to what you filed, so you can always check next week.
No, that's okay. I have a memo of law, and I have documents requested at the prior ZBA hearing, and I have a letter of support. So it's three things, but I'll make sure they all get into the file. This is an application for 3 variances, but primarily what it is an application to take the a little bit more than 4 acres of property that is owned by the Cowles family, and it has been owned by the Cowles family since 1978 when the property was zoned, I say this in the vernacular, 2 acres, in 1978. The variances would be to, for area relief for parcel number 2. Lots are supposed to be 120,000 square feet. Lot number 2 is proposed at 91,007 square feet, and parcel number 1 is proposed at 87,293 square feet. In order to maintain the house, we would need a de minimis amount of relief, 27.4 instead of 30 feet on what is the proposed westerly boundary of parcel number 2, and 75.3 feet instead of 100 at the rear lot line, or the north lot line of the proposed parcel number 2. So that's the relief that we're requesting here. And what is the history of this? Well, the property has been taxed as 2 separate tax lots since 1978. It was taken back in 78 by the Cowles family, and as is unfortunately often happens when New York Council is involved, it was taken as by one description, which I'm sure was probably an attempt to save recording fees, but I'm sure probably the lawyer did not know that he was being penny-wise and pound-foolish. But the property was used, a portion of this tax map lot to the west was used in conjunction with the parcel to the east. But nevertheless, it has been used it has been taxed as 2 tax parcels. And when the property was acquired, these 2 tax map configurations, the properties would conform to the would have conformed to the R80 zoning in 1978. So although Rick requested some deeds, and those deeds do show the history of conveyance, they're probably more important if one were claiming by interpretation that these parcels hadn't merged. But we do have a lot that was used in conjunction with the other lot. So really what the focus of the application has become is a request for area and side yard variances. Now, under what circumstances could someone come before you and ask for the ability to recreate 2 lots, which are a little bit more than two-thirds of the zoning requirement? There's one circumstance under which that would be a very, very reasonable request, and that is when there's being no damage done to the character of the neighborhood. There's not any dispute to the facts involved in this case, none whatsoever. And this is a case for you to decide. You decide factually if we've proven with the 5 factors that I'm not going to bore you with, that we've gone over every time. People tell you about these 5 factors in the village code. It's for you to decide whether or not I've met the burden. We've met the burden of proving that a variance is warranted. Now, when you're looking at the division, the proposed division, in this case, the case law is very, very clear. And the case law is as follows. I'm gonna ask you to do something that I usually wouldn't ask you to do. I'm gonna ask you to actually read, you the members, read the memorandum of law. Because if you read, I've highlighted the language in these cases, and I think that you'll see that we squarely fall into the types of cases where relief like this is warranted. What do you look at the most? You look at consistency with the neighborhood is the singular most significant factor in subdivision cases. If the applicant is seeking variances to conform to that which is prevalent in the neighborhood, absent any overriding considerations, a denial of relief is likely to be found arbitrary. So what do? We go and we look at the neighborhood. How do we do that? It's very easy. We look at the tax maps for the area. And some of this was brought to your attention at the last meeting, but I'm going to bring it to your attention again, and I'm going to talk about an expanded neighborhood analysis, because that was one of the questions raised at the last meeting. This is the block formed by Little Plains Road, Gin Lane, South Main Street, and Foster Crossing. And what do you see in there? You see there are 39 lots. And actually, we've included the lots off to South Main. There's 39 lots. Only 3 lots, only 3 of them, conform to the R120 zoning. There's 26 lots in this square block, 39 lots in the tax lot. In this square block, let me start over again because I said something a little bit misleading. In this square block, there are 26 lots. South Main, Foster, Little Plains, Gin Lane. 26 lots, 0 lots, none of them conform to the R120 zoning district and lot area. 16 lots are under 2 acres, 10 lots are 2 acres and above. But what's nice about this, because you guys always appropriately want to worry about precedent, you don't have the opportunity that we have in this application, where you have 4 acres, which would bring it into conformity with the neighborhood. So this block, nowhere is the R120 zoning district honored. Let's move to the actual tax map as a whole. 39 lots, only 3 lots conform to the R120 zoning district. So that's why, back in a case that you decided up here, which is tax lots 25 and 25.2, the Dorothy Price case, this board found the following, which is totally applicable to my request for relief, and the circumstances haven't changed. The zoning hasn't changed, nothing has changed. The board is aware, and this is what this board found when it took these 2 lots, took this area up here of 4 acres, and allowed by variance the creation of 2 separate lots. The board is aware that in 1983, the Board of Trustees of the village made a blanket rezoning of the entire area of the village, which had previously been R80 to 120. A lot of times this is done. You have a master plan, you paint zoning with a wide swath. In examining the parcels in the immediate area surrounding the subject parcel, the board finds that the predominance of the parcels is more in the range of 80,000 square feet rather than 120 square foot parcels. We find that to deny this application would be to hold the applicant to a standard considerably higher than that required in the general neighborhood. In short, the board finds the parcels of 80,000 square foot would be in keeping with the general size of parcels in the immediate area. This isn't my language, this isn't a court's language, this is this board's language, and it's
What year
appropriate
was that,
language.
John?
Excuse me?
What year was that we gave that decision?
1988.
Just want to see if my name is on there. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it would have been,
It
right?
is.
You weren't the chairman,
No, I wasn't the chairman. I
but
was
you were a
the-
voting member.
How did I vote, nay or yeah, or aye?
Well, you know what? Rare is the case where you guys don't vote unanimously, so I'm going to guess you voted for it.
Well, doesn't it
Well,
say?
It doesn't say. I don't have, the building
All right,
department didn't have
okay.
the copy with the votes on it. But in any event, nothing has changed. The zoning is the same. The characteristics of the neighborhood are the same. So what I did then, because there was some issue as to whether or not I had taken in a wide enough swath in the neighborhood, which I think I had. But in any event, devil's advocate, I went to the next tax lot over, to the east, 11 lots within the square of Gin Lane and Wyandanch. Of these 11 lots, only 2 lots conform to the R120 requirement. So here you have a situation where the board, primarily for the general area of the estate area, the Board of Trustees decided to create a 3-acre zoning. But this neighborhood is clearly not only 80,000 square feet, but many of the lots don't even conform to that. Look at this, 42,000 square feet, 36,000 square feet, an acre and a half, 1 acre, 2 acres, 1.5 acres, 1.1 acre, 1.1 acre. This would be over 2/3 of the zoning. From a health department point of view, you're 4 times the required density. I know that's a different board, but one of the things that you want to look into is to make sure that you're not creating any health and safety hazard. The health department, since you're south of the ground, you're outside the relevant groundwater management zone, to subdivide this property, you're 4 times the requirement for the health department. The health department requires 20,000 square feet in this area where there's public water. But again, what is the most important thing to look at in this case. It's the character of the neighborhood. And I'm not going to bore you with reading this. There's nothing worse than an applicant that comes before you and reads his memorandum of law, but I really, really would very much ask you guys to take a look at this. It's written in, hopefully, not an overly technical or legal form. If you want, just scan it and read the quotes. Where a municipality purports to upzone a neighborhood that is fully developed, the purported upzone is functionally a futility. And in that case, for example, the board allowed the creation of lots where they were undersized for the zoning, but they more than adequately complied with the character of the neighborhood. So that's really the function here. What do you look at in addition to the character of the neighborhood? What are the other indicia for character of the neighborhood? I've been able to argue successfully once before this board in a case Coleman versus Corman, and then in a case before the Shelter Island Zoning Board of Appeals, which I challenged and the second department overturned. They said one of the criteria that you look at for the character of the neighborhood is, believe it or not, what the neighbors think. And it makes sense. It's just good common sense. If the neighbors aren't upset about this, they clearly don't think that there's an issue with the character of the neighborhood. I know Mr. and Mrs. Harris, who live across the street in, by the way, one lot that's 1.8 acres and another lot that's, do I have this right? No, that's the wrong tax map. They live across the street in two lots that don't conform, had complained. I should add, for full disclosure, that was originally 3 lots. And then we came in. You did that, right? I did that. We came in and we created 2 lots that were more conforming, but nevertheless they don't conform. They had an issue with it. It appears that their primary issue is, and I do this because I run down Gin Lane, not as fast as I used to every morning, but I run down from the corner of Gin and Little Plains until you get to, I think it's the Wang lot. I'm pretty sure it's the Wang lot. You see an uninterrupted row of privet. So I think they were concerned that would be, all of a sudden there would be 2, 3, would have enough room for 2 circular driveways. I think it took a little doing, but it was a very fair, in terms of back and forth, it was a very fair agreement. This is not binding on the board, obviously, but it's evidence, as I've suggested to you, that there is no impact to the character of the neighborhood. This is a letter that I wrote to their council, and I want it's 2 quick paragraphs. It's a letter that I wrote, a letter that I wrote to this board, and it was accepted and agreed by counsel for the Harrises and the LLC that they control. Based upon my discussions with Linda Riley, attorney for the neighbors, Ms. Riley's clients have agreed that they have no opposition to the application and they support the application. The applicant has agreed, we've agreed, that in the event the 2 lots are created by this board and the planning board, only one of the lots will have driveway access from and to Gin Lane, and that access will be limited to a single driveway cut. And
It would be the inside lot, right?
that would be the inside lot.
Lot that's on the corner already has
access over Little Plains Road, and we would covenant that defect. And I will say, whether or not you were to, if I was to be, if you were to be so kind as to grant this relief, whether or not you impose that as a condition, as far as I'm concerned, that's a binding private agreement, and we would have to covenant. That would be the inside lot. And believe it or not, this is a bit of a, it's a more substantial give back than one would think. And why is that so? Because this address, Gin Lane, has more value than a Little Plains Road address. With my apologies to anyone, if they live on Little Plains Road, is a lovely road, love to live on it. But Gin Lane has a certain, whatever you want to call it, I know, je ne sais quoi, whatever you want to call it. So it was a substantial give back. I know for years, for example, there was people wanted to try to get addresses that fairly converted to Gin Lane addresses because they wanted the Gin Lane address. So what it does is it cuts back on any impact to the Harrises. And again, this is evidence of little impact on the character of the neighborhood.
Is that a letter you submitted tonight?
Yes,
Did you submit multiple copies?
yes, it did.
Okay, 'cause
Did you get one? Did one come down to you?
one
Rick?
didn't reach.
You got it, right? Is it? Oh, there we go.
Here,
Okay, I
Got
got it.
here they are. I'm sorry, I didn't pass them on.
If it's, you have a fairly long calendar, I'm not trying to control your calendar. Oh, that's right. Far be it from that, but I've got some information here. I'd like it to adjourn, if you would, and read this and consider it. I'll probably produce some, because most of my energies have been put into trying to get some sort of understanding with the neighbors. What I'd like to do is if you could adjourn it, read this stuff, I'll probably give you some economic evidence as to the difference in value, which is the benefit. Now, Rick will tell you that there's plenty of case law that says
Yeah,
the mere fact that you can make more, you have a higher value because you have subdivided lots isn't in and of itself, in and of itself, it doesn't require that you grant the variance, but it certainly is evidence that you take into consideration in terms of that weighing of the benefit to the applicant and any detriment. I don't see any detriment at all from a neighborhood point of view. I have a huge amount of respect for this board's desire to control their case law, their cases, and to control precedent so that precedent is not used against you in a situation where it's not as warranted. I think this is fairly unique. I think it's unique in the neighborhood, and I think you can craft a decision, or certainly Rick could craft a decision, if the board is kind enough to grant the relief, that would make it unique. That's all I have to say. If you could put it over, please read the materials. If you have any questions, or Rick has any questions, I'm here to answer them.
I have one question.
Sure.
So you're asking for a variance to split into two lots from one, but there's also a rear yard variance, is that correct?
Just the rear yard variance for the existing, to maintain the existing house. I wouldn't have the nerve to ask you for a rear yard variance for this one, because they'd
Right.
have to conform at the 100
But
feet.
if you move that property line to the left a little bit, I mean, 30 feet looks like is the principal structure setback, correct?
Yes, it is. I'll tell you why I left it the way they were.
But I mean, then it'd be one less variance.
It'd be one less variance, but I'll tell you why I left it. It would make my job a little bit easier in the health department. The health department right now would issue permits to construct a single-family residence on this. What they do is they look back at the 1981 tax map. If you vary the line at all, either 3 feet, I have to go to the health department and have them approve a lot line modification. But if you think that's the better thing to do, if you, again, I'm not, I'm not trying to get you to prejudge any of this stuff, but if you think that's the better thing to do, we would do that, certainly. I was just trying to make one less, stop at one less agency. But if that makes it easier, we'll do it.
I was curious why, that
Yeah.
you didn't take that tack.
No, it's just sitting there
So
like,
you've given
why the
me a
heck?
reason.
make
so.
it 30,
yeah.
I understand, yeah,
Yeah.
but, so that is my reason, so. It's interesting, people used to, when they would go to a planning board and do lot line modifications, they would never think of going to the health departments and enforce those. They will say to you, well, this isn't the way it looked on the 81 tax map when you come in to file for an application for a separate, just a single family residence. But if the board feels more comfortable, we'll do that. I mean, we did that across the street at Harris. I had to get a lot line modification from the health department as well as the planning board. And in that one, also actually the DEC, because it was on the ocean. That's a long explanation to why I didn't make it 30 feet, sorry.
Well, you said that you have 4 times the amount of lot coverage than the health department would require on each lot anyway.
Yeah,
It's just paperwork.
it's the paperwork, exactly. Yeah, they wouldn't not grant it, it's just the paperwork. So, but if that's, if you want us to do that, consider it done. That's, would be part of a condition.
It's just that, if somebody else wants to divide it, and then they want to variance it, come back, well, you did,
Right.
that's one less thing that you can think about it.
And again, the only thing, Mrs. Coles, who's like an older lady, she's actually in hospice now, and why do I say that to you? Not to tug at your heartstrings, but there is a case which is in your memorandum of law that I provided to you, which actually was a case I was involved with again over in Shelter Island. I seem for a reason to be bringing a lot of 78s over there for a while, but there was a case, the Seidler case, in which the Supreme Court stated that, it was interesting, the board appears to want to find that the Shelter Island Zoning Board denied a similar cases to here, and the court, in overturning it, held, the board appears to want to find that Mrs. Seidler was a sophisticated owner of real property who understood the complexity of merger, and yet voluntarily chose to pay additional real property taxes to the town and county for 10 years. This Cole's family was paying taxes on this as two separate lots, mistakenly, okay, I think, probably after the upzoning, since 1978. It's so ingrained, the concepts of merger are so ingrained to all of us. But it comes as a surprise to a lot of people, even sophisticated New York real estate lawyers, New York City lawyers. So, in any event, that's by way of explanation.
Jim, you have anything?
Nope.
Anything, Jerry?
No.
Rick?
Nothing?
Anybody out in the audience like to be heard to this application? Therefore, you want us to adjourn this for all purposes, I assume.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for your time, gentlemen.
Righty.
Takes us up to 2782, 1280 Meadow Lane LLC, 1280 Meadow Lane. For the applicant. We have no one for the applicant. I'll speed things up. It's a heartbreak. So I guess we'll just adjourn that.
Yeah, they may have
No,
made a,
They may have had a request
they
to
made a
adjourn,
mess.
yeah.
The,
We adjourn for all
zoning board
purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor? 2783 James Branca, 248 White Street.
For the applicant, Robert Morris, Sinsick, O'Shea Mark, Sinsick and Bruin, 250 North Sea Road, Southampton. Good evening. Was just recently retained on this matter. It's essentially a request for an area variance on property that's located on the south side of White Street between Halsey Street and Breeze Lane. It's comprised of approximately 13,500 square feet and is located in a R 12.5 zoning district. The variance is needed in order to construct an approximate 4 by 15-foot addition onto the front of an existing garage, which is located 11.1 feet from the side yard, and is also part of the variance request as total side yard variance, since 40 feet is required and the existing total side yard is 24.6. As I said, I was just recently retained on this, and I looked through the file, and I didn't see anything in the file that properly depicted on the survey what actually the applicant was looking for.
It seemed to us that it was, he wanted to do something about the
So,
entryway.
I do have surveys here, which might be helpful in that regard. We could read it to go and to each of you. Get up, closer first.
Should want the canvas to stamp, please.
No. Do I need that? I mean, I thought that was already done. Yeah, you don't have jurisdiction now. You have the affidavit of mailing and posting. I thought that was, as I
We
said,
have nothing. Oh, we don't know.
He has not been before us at all.
he didn't even submit that?
I don't know.
We don't know.
We haven't gotten anything from him yet.
We don't have the file.
We went to the ARB and there was a problem.
Well, yeah, I
And,
sort of heard about that,
he
which
never
we won't
showed
go
up
there right
here.
now. Then that poses an interesting question as to whether or not this board has even jurisdiction if the affidavit of posting and mailing were not submitted, because I, was not part of, I wasn't retained at that point to do so.
Now, they may have been, but we didn't have them as
Yeah.
of the work session of last week unless they came in since then. And we have no knowledge of what came in since the work session.
Under the circumstances, I don't know if I should just adjourn this case rather than go any further to ensure that the board has jurisdiction. Otherwise, I'm standing here talking for
Right.
nothing, essentially.
Right.
Sorry about that. As I said, I was not aware of
Difference in the maps.
Great.
This is what they all.
Yeah, and what we got at the beginning, about 2 months ago, I understood they just want to do something about the entryway. That's why I was even wondering
No,
why he was here for a
essentially what's
variance.
happened, no, the entryway is not part of the variance. If you look at that, it's actually the portion of the survey, just for the board's edification.
Right alongside the
That's,
garage, right?
that says proposed garage addition. Essentially, what he's doing is constructing a 4-foot laundry room in the back of the garage.
Okay.
And in order to do that, to ensure that the existing garage will still accommodate a car, he has to put 4 feet on the front of the garage. So essentially, the garage is going to be the same size, but what he's doing is taking a part of the existing garage, which is 4 feet, as, you know, in the rear of the garage there, and essentially constructing a laundry room. As I said, I can go on if you'd like, but I don't know if,
Now, they already have started to do some work there. I think they're replacing the
That-
roof.
yeah,
think
they've
they're
done
doing
some
that.
interior renovations,
Right, which doesn't have
but
anything to do with
do not
this.
require a variance. That's the, as shown in this survey, that's some of the other stuff that's, that they do have building, he does have a building permit for, is not, does not require a variance. He has not started the construction on the addition to the front of the garage.
So what we should do then, I think, is hold this over.
Probably, yeah.
And the variance is for the side yard or for the front?
But side yard, front yard, it's fine, 30's the front yard,
I got it.
just the side yard, and again, we're not increasing the degree of non-conformity, we're just maintaining that 11.1 setback, but again, it's still non-conforming, so that's why we're before this board, as well as the total side yard issue.
Okay.
So I guess I'll,
We'll just adjourn it.
We'll adjourn for all
Just
purposes.
so we understand what you're asking for now from the map
Sure.
submitted. The 3 things labeled proposed
It's just a
garage
garage.
addition.
just the garage, that, the entryway addition, as well as the, basically the entryway addition doesn't require a variance. It's just the garage, the 4 feet onto the front of the garage, again, to take into consideration the fact that he's essentially using the rear 4 feet of the existing garage in order to construct a laundry room for purposes that I'll go into
Okay,
next time, perhaps.
all right.
There's no laundry room for like laundry?
No, there is no laundry room. Right now, the laundry is done in his kitchen, which.
Well, I
is a
mean,
big-
the new one, the proposed one, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have a washer dryer. If you look at the building plans, which again, you guys don't have the, plans in front of you, the building plans, but they even indicate I guess, a washer dryer on the building plans if you look, at them. Which again, I know you don't have the file. And again, just for the board's edification here. These are building plans which are in your file, which probably shows what he's doing. This is the 4 feet of the rear of the existing garage. This says WD, which is obviously washer dryer.
And he's adding 4
And this is
on
the 4
to
feet on the
to
front
accommodate
of
a
the
car.
garage in order to
And a
sort
car.
of make the garage still large enough to accommodate a car.
Okay.
We have them, but I don't think we need them. Building plans, you got that?
Probably not
We
for
don't
the-
need them, really.
I'm sorry?
Well, it'll be in the file, I assume.
Oh, if they came in after the work session? Well, we don't need them particularly, I guess.
What's that, the building plan?
I don't have those, I don't know that anyone.
Those were in the file. I mean, when I looked at this, when I looked at the zoning board's file, these building plans were in there. They said there was one survey, not the survey that I just gave you,
They're still in there, and they're wandering around Southampton somewhere.
Yeah,
They're not here.
Backseat of somebody's car.
not much.
Not mine either.
All right.
So can we have a motion to join this for all purposes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Case number 2784, Gerald Rose Garden, 15 Pelham Street and 148 Moses Lane. This case is also before the planning board, so we have to wait until we hear back from the planning board on that one. That takes care of the pending cases, takes care of the decisions, and brings us back to the new cases. Case number 2787, Milstein, 304 Meadow Lane.
Evening for the applicant, Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton. Excuse me, I also have with me Melissa Dedovich, the environmental consultant, and Ed Hollander, the landscape architect. I have an affidavit of posting and mailing that I'll submit for the record.
All right. What do we got here?
like we have a full team.
We're all ready to go and no
Where do you file
consultant.
that?
And by the way, I note that
Yeah, put
Mr.
that in your
Voorhees isn't
pocket.
here this evening. As you know, this is a wetland special permit application, not requiring any variances, so I recognize that what will happen tonight will be of a somewhat limited nature. I will just summarize it. I also understand that Mr. Voorhees may have generated a memo with some comments on the plan submitted, which obviously I think Melissa has seen on her computer, but we haven't seen. You may not have even seen
He
it.
called me up, he will not be here this evening, but he did send the memos in to the
Right.
file.
We know that, but
He
I...
did email a memo to the village office on Wednesday. I didn't make a copy of it because it was gonna be in our packets.
In the file.
And when I checked yesterday afternoon, I guess it hadn't been put in the file yet, although it was probably there. But in any event, we'll reserve the right to respond to his comments. I understand that none of them was of very serious nature, so we, between now and the next meeting, will address those questions that he might have. But just briefly, to summarize what the application is all about, it involves essentially a redevelopment of the entire property, but most of the work that is being done is as-of-right work, doesn't require a variance, wetlands permit, or any other form of relief. In particular, the activity dealing with the house, the decks, and so forth. All of that is as-of-right work, and in fact, last night, I understand that the ARB approved it, but all you're looking at, all you will be looking at, is the work that is going on within 150 feet of the wetlands as follows. We propose to redo the tennis court and sink it in accordance with the current planning board requirements. You may remember, and I submitted before the work session, which you should have, this board granted a variance for the tennis court in its present location in 1981. So there's no variance necessary for the tennis court because it exists by virtue of a variance and it's going in exactly the same place. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to sink it, screen it in accordance with what the planning board now requires. So that does not require a variance, but it would require a wetlands special permit. And the plans that we've submitted show the proposed planting, the grading and the drainage, which was done by Ed Hollander's office. I also submitted before the work session a most recent landscape plan for the tennis court and also the area within 125 feet of the wetlands. I want to make sure that that's in the file. It was submitted before the work session, so you should have that, as well as a copy of the 1981 variance decision for the tennis court. In addition, I did submit separately a long environmental assessment form, Part 1, as required, so that should also be in the file. One thing I will give you this evening, and I'll leave an extra copy for Mr. Voorhees, is a slightly updated site plan, which among other things contains details of the amount of fill that would be involved with the project, which is something that you quite often inquire about. And I have 10 copies of that, which I'll give you. Start there. Kevin, I'll give you 2 if you want. That way, maybe I should give you 3. That way you can give 1 to Chip. Yeah, that way. It was a fairly detailed package we submitted to you, including landscape plans, grading and drainage plans, and all the things that this board and the planning board quite often ask for with regard to the tennis court. Part of the project also involves slightly reconfiguring the existing driveway, and as I said, doing some planting within the wetlands jurisdictional area. All of the area, essentially all of the area that we're talking about has been previously disturbed, and we would employ the normal mitigation measures to make sure that the activity is retained on the site. I don't know if you have any questions at this point. I think most of the questions would probably come from Mr. Voorhees.
The house that's there now, that's gonna go, right?
That's going. It's going. And what's being installed in its place doesn't require any relief. It's all of right.
How much are you sinking the tennis court?
I think about 4 feet, which is what the planning board typically, they like to see it sunk 3 to 4 feet.
I guess the only thing I'd want to know is it shows, the test hole shows groundwater at 3.7 feet, and you're going to dig a hole to 4 feet. Isn't the tennis feet going to be 4 inches of water, and then how do you drain it?
I think Mr. Hollander can address
That's
that.
what I
He's
figured
got
he
quite an
would.
extensive, he's got quite an extensive drainage plan.
Well, it's a good point, because while the court is being sunken 4 feet, we could not sink it because of the groundwater. So in effect, what's happening is we're bringing the grade up around the court with a series of retaining walls, so the court in effect becomes sunken because we're elevating the grade of the site to be able to meet the requirements of sinking it without making it a swimming pool.
So you bring a fill in, that's
Yes.
where the fill's.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
You're raising it to sink it.
Well, we're required to sink it, but if we sink it, we'll sink it into groundwater.
So you raise it.
You raise
raise
it.
it.
No, sink it.
Right.
Actually,
We're
so
gonna
you're gonna
raise the
keep it at
ground
the
level.
same level that it is now, or are you sinking it a little bit, you know? It's a-
No, the existing grade of the court is the finished grade of the court is going to be about at elevation 10, with the top of wall varying from elevation 18 at the house, at the end by the house, down to about elevation 14 at the other end. So that this is a section that shows, and I'm sure you've got, that shows how the walls work in relation to existing grade and proposed grade, and the way it's all going to come together. So that's in the file, but we have plans and sections that detail exactly how it's going to get done, and then Squires and Holden has worked with us on doing all of the drainage calculations for this, so that they can accommodate all the drainage that the court would generate.
I'm sure one of the things that Mr. Voorhees will look at is how the drainage works. I know when these
Right.
things go to the planning board, that's always a central issue.
Right.
So we have to do that, otherwise we can't do it. So I think unless you had any other questions, we could adjourn this for all purposes, and we'll respond to Mr. Voorhees' memo and see if we can satisfy his concerns.
So the only relief you're asking is because of the wetlands.
It's a wetlands permit, no variances whatsoever. Correct.
Jim?
Nothing.
Rob?
No.
Dan?
Not right now.
Jerry? Rick? Anybody out in the audience like to hear to this application? Therefore, I need a motion to adjourn for all purposes. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Want some clips.
The application is case number 2788, Beach Street Development, 54 Lee Avenue. Yes.
Anthony Trezza on behalf of the applicant. This is a new application for 54 Lee Avenue in the village here, and I'm going to give you some new information. In fact, when we submitted this application initially, we submitted architectural site plan that was stamped by the architect. We have right now a survey, and actually the variances that we requested are less than what we initially applied for.
Roll one.
I'm gonna
I didn't understand that either. They all get stamped or? Which one?
I'm going to give each board member the packet that I gave them to.
What's her name?
Yes.
You need to give one to me if you want to get a decision sometime.
What's this, an extra?
Yeah. There were 3 different things.
That's what we go to the building department tomorrow.
All right, so this proposal is for a new residence.
Are these, did you give these to everybody? I wasn't.
I was there, pass them down if you could. I didn't give them out to everybody
Gotta
yet.
get a stamp one.
Stamp that one. Retain it.
This one we will have.
There's some more.
You can re-stamp. You can have one, too.
Got everything?
Yeah, well, we're getting it.
Okay. So this proposal is for a single-family residence, pool, and pool house on the property of 54 Lee. It's zoned R40, and the property is just under 30,000 square feet. It's currently vacant. Though you don't have the file, this property had been, an application had been before this board, and was subsequently denied. My understanding at that time was when the applicant came in, they were looking for a full basement, had proposed coming in with an enormous amount to fill to create an oversized house that needed all sorts of variances. So this is a new application, and the only variances that we're asking for are for the principal structure, a rear yard variance, and a front yard variance. Now, I initially, on the application, asked for a variance that was a little bit larger. In the rear yard here, we are actually, let me just get the zoning here. There we go. We have a 60-foot rear yard requirement. We're proposing at its closest point 49 feet 6 inches. And on the front, we also have a 60-foot front yard setback. We're actually proposing 54 feet 5 inches. So those are the two variances that we're requesting. Now, we're requesting these variances because one of the sheets that I gave you, which comes from the building department's files, is that we don't have a building envelope in which you could reasonably fit a structure.
You just have a hallway.
That's basically it. You could have a hallway. So what we did was we designed a site plan that tried to minimize the number of variances, and we limited it to the principal structure. As you could see on the, maybe you don't have the calculations, but I'll have to provide them to you. But in fact, we are proposing a structure that's less than the maximum floor area. We don't exceed the lot coverage requirements. We're just seeking front yard and rear yard variances. And I'm here to answer any questions that the board or the public may have. I'm not sure if anybody here remembers the previous application.
Did that get denied, or did that get withdrawn? Or did it get denied without prejudice?
It was denied without prejudice. And from what I could gather from the file, there seemed to be some concern about a fill being brought in. And again, the previous application, they were trying to do a full 8-foot basement. We're proposing a crawl space here, just in order to prevent the structure from being so high and enormous in the air. So we just limited it to the two setback variances that are listed herein. And actually less than what we initially
In your
requested.
application, maybe I missed it, but it said you were asking for relief for the pool too. You're not doing that anymore?
No relief for the pool. Meets all the setbacks, same thing with the pool house.
I think there was some concern at the time from the neighbor to the east. I recall what the concern was, but there was some concern expressed.
Across the street?
No, to the east,
Oh, sorry.
on Hill Street.
Fury.
I'm not aware of any.
There's been no, and it's posted and everything, because I saw the posting there.
Oh, yeah.
So just to recap, you're asking for relief from the front yard dimension and the rear yard dimension,
Right, for the principal structure only.
and that's it.
That's it.
And without that relief, you can't build a house.
Yeah, as you can see, the sketch that I provided to you actually comes from John Foster. And in there, he notes, he says, you know, in order to build on this property, there's going to be a need for relief from the zoning board in order to do so. And particularly trying to design a house that's consistent with the character of the community requires a certain amount of area in order to
Right.
build certain elements of the structure. You couldn't get anything in there except some strange, bizarre, contemporary structure which would not be appropriate in that area for sure.
So the total width of the house is just 37 feet, is that correct? That's what it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah,
38 feet.
Yeah, 38 feet.
And again, we tried to design the site plan again to limit, we didn't want to deal with setback variances for accessory structures. And you also see in the package, I gave you an aerial photograph of the surrounding neighborhood. Lot sizes are configured similarly. They vary in size. Some are smaller than this, some are larger than this, but for the most part, you'll see that the properties in this, it's a fully developed neighborhood, are consistent with single-family residence, customary accessory structures, swimming pool, pool house. And certainly, the intent was not to, make the smaller property here appear crowded or overdeveloped. So we took liberties to reduce the size of the structure from what was initially proposed.
Yeah, well, it looks like the garage and there's a sunroom meet the setback, so you just bumped out like where you need a little bit more room in the house for the dining room and family room.
Yeah, I mean, the architect who's not here this evening really worked hard to design something here that made sense.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Dan? Rick?
I just want to confirm, the new figures, you're asking for a rear yard setback of 49 feet 6 inches,
Correct.
and front yard setback of 54 feet 5 inches.
The variance amount,
Yeah, those are the setbacks.
Yeah,
The
okay, yep,
variance is
yep,
not,
yep.
that's not the amount of the variance.
no,
yeah.
yep, that's correct.
Anybody out in the audience like to heard of this application?
Yeah, again, I think we don't know what might be in the file
Better adjourn it for all purposes.
submitted by neighbors or anything else. We better adjourn it for all purposes. If there's nothing in the file, if we have no more questions, and if there's nothing in the file, we can still do a decision, but
So you could have one prepared in
If we don't
In
find
anticipation,
anything
if you
in the
don't find
file, we
anything.
could do something and have it by the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
So I move we adjourn for all purposes, is that right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Case number 2789, Johnson, 1970 Meadow Lane.
Evening for the applicant, Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton. And I have an affidavit of posting and mailing. This should be even a quicker one than the one I had earlier. This again is a wetland special permit case only. And as you can see on the plan submitted, it involves enclosing an area within the existing house that's between two existing decks. The total amount of enclosure would be 562 square feet. And the purpose of it is to expand an existing bedroom and a mechanical room, so there'd be no increased density, no more bedrooms, no more bathrooms, etc. No variances or other relief are required. There's no ground disturbance. As I say, we're doing it all within existing decking, no increased facilities. The DEC had previously issued a no jurisdiction letter for this property, and you may recall that in 2008, we obtained a wetlands permit and some variances to do other work on the house. I gave you a copy of that decision with the original submission. That work, by the way, was completed, and a certificate of occupancy for it was issued by the village, which I'll hand up for the record just so you have it. I really don't have too much else to say. This is something that's almost at the borderline of needing any kind of permit because it's so small and it's all within an existing building.
But again, this has to do with the wetlands.
Strictly a wetlands, no variances.
I think again, we'll have to wait to see what we have from Chick.
Right. If you have any questions, I'll go away quietly.
Gail, if you want to check with me tomorrow, as I said, I did get a copy of
Okay.
Chick's email to the zoning board office, but I didn't print it out because I figured it would all be in our packets.
Right, okay, I'll do that tomorrow, and then I can address whatever concerns. So if you'd adjourn for all
Yeah, I
purposes.
just went in on the other one.
Okay, that's great.
Is there anyone out in the audience who'd like to heard of this application?
I'll move we adjourn for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Case number 2790, Robert Holman, 5 Bishop Court. Sure, I have a whole bunch of them. Want more?
Maybe, right now, I don't count.
So do you not have any paperwork?
We have
Oh, we got what we got for the work session.
Okay.
Anything that came in since then, we haven't got.
Oh, okay, I didn't put anything. I'm gonna send around a cheat sheet, just with my points on it, so that you can look at it as I'm speaking and be able to remember the things I'm saying. Lisa Zaloga, I'm the architect, and Robert and Amanda Holman. This property is on, oh, let me get my book. This property is located on the corner of Bishop's Lane and Bishop's Court. So it has 2 front yards. There is a legal pre-existing non-conforming residence that is on the property, as well as a 1-story frame garage and a swimming pool. The lot is 18,543 square feet in R20 zoning. So that requires a 40-foot front yard requirement. Now, due to the fact that the lot is undersized, there's a 30-foot requirement for a front yard. So the smaller lots in the neighborhood have a 30-foot, the larger lots have a 40-foot setback. The existing residence, it meets the setbacks off of Bishop's Lane, but it is non-conforming with regard to its front yard setback off of Bishop's Court. So the existing residence has a 30-foot setback off of Bishop's Court, where 40 is now required. We are looking to add on to this house. The existing house is actually undersized for zoning. It has a 600 and, where did I write it? Where I wrote it?
87.
687 square foot footprint with a total GFA of 1,267 square feet. So in an R20 zone, actually 1,400 square feet is required for the minimum size of a house with a 900 square foot footprint. So what we're looking to do is really not enlarge this house too drastically. Our final total GFA that we're looking to get is just under 2,900 square feet, and for the lot size, 3,700 would be allowable. So the addition that we're looking to do is to actually maintains that front line of the existing footprint of the house. However, the house is slightly at an angle to Bishop's Court. So as we head east, we get a little bit closer to Bishop's Court. So we end up with a 28.2 foot setback off of Bishop's Court for that front corner of the house.
What
It's
is-
actually
what
in
is the
line.
setback?
The setback for
Should be what?
zoning is, the setback for zoning is 40 feet.
40 feet.
The setback, if it worked just by lot size, would be 30 feet. So we end up at 28.2. So we're actually looking for 11.8 feet and front yard relief. And so if you look at the houses in the neighborhood, you know, most of them, the older houses do not conform to the 40 feet. The one next door is 35 feet. The one on the corner of Bishop's Court and then North Captain's Neck actually goes about 2 feet off of the property line, and it's a little over 30 feet off of Bishop's Court. The newer houses that are being built on the bigger lots down Bishop's Lane to the north have the 40-foot setback because they are in fact new houses. They were demolished and brand new houses were constructed. You know, this house was built in the 1930s. We were at the ARB last night. They approved it based on your approval. And as I said, we're not trying to actually go any closer to the street. We're trying to maintain that front yard setback. It's just that because the house is slightly angled, we do get a little bit closer than the existing 30 feet.
Just over a foot.
Yeah.
There's a pool up there on the property in that location?
Yes, the pool is existing. It was put in, I believe, about 10 years ago. They bought the property about 11 years ago, and the first thing they did was put the pool in.
So actually, where this new construction will be is over where the deck is now, for the most
Correct,
part, right?
correct. And, you know, I mean, we're 66 feet from Bishop's Lane, you know, the other houses along Bishop's Lane are in the 40-foot to, you know, so from a character of the neighborhood, you know, the larger setbacks are along Bishop's Lane, and the smaller lots and the smaller setbacks are along Bishop's Court, and it's just, you know, we can't go any other direction.
Not worth moving the house back because you'd be in the pool.
Yeah.
Plus you got a garage back here too.
Because I thought, you know, there's plenty of room here
Yeah.
if they were totally renovating the place.
Yeah, actually,
Now, did you look at
we're
that?
not really totally
Pool's only
renovating the
23
place,
feet
believe it or
long.
not. The upstairs is all
20.
cathedral and exposed rafters. Whoever owned the house previously kind of
You mean
made
the
it,
existing?
yes.
So you're
made it-
really not going to do much to that at all?
No,
Okay.
we're messing with the first.
It's not like a
We're
gut.
messing with the first floor, but we're not touching anything on the second floor other than the access to the new bedroom. And it's staying 3 bedrooms.
It'll all be on the second floor, right?
They'll all be on the second floor.
Are you going to have to relocate the septic system when you do this?
I'm figuring that I will. Oddly enough, they relocated it when they put the pool in. So I'm thinking that it's probably up to standards. And like I said, this is not increasing any bedrooms, but I do have a survey where I've shown the existing, the new proposed. It's not on the survey that you have.
Can you find out if that's up to standard?
Well, I'm gonna put a new one in because there's no way that here, that it
Okay.
meets the setbacks. You know, they probably did it whenever. But it had to be 20 feet from the pool. This is the only place where it can be located currently. And with my porch and everything, I'm.
So you're moving it, so that doesn't show on what I'm looking at?
No, it doesn't. I have surveys if you'd like them that show where I'm putting the new septic system in.
You also will have to move the pool equipment, right?
The pool equipment, yes, it will go into the garage building.
It'll be conforming.
Yes.
Jim?
No, I just say, it's sort of a tucked away corner, so I don't know, what kind of impact it would have, if any.
Doesn't have anything on Bishop's Lane, really.
Right.
Right, and it's also, it's surrounded by 10-foot high hedges.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's,
The majority of this one-story addition, there's only the 2-story
you
portion.
could drive by that road and not even know it's there
Yeah.
half the time.
And you saying that the number of the other houses on Bishop's Court or front yard setbacks are in the, like,
They're in the
30?
30s, they're the mid-30s, 35, 35, and then this one, as it comes around the corner, because it's also on a corner, it goes to only 2 feet off the property line. But there's a wall of green there, so you don't really see it. This one, you don't really see the house either, there's hedges and trees.
At one time, I think. I think so, yeah. Long, long time ago. Well,
Nothing, the pool equipment's going in the garage,
Correct,
because the garage is pretty close to the line, right?
yes.
Okay.
but it's been there a long time, I assume, that garage,
Yes,
since the
the garage.
thirties probably.
Yeah, garage is.
Terry? Rick?
Just one thing, we're gonna need some, maybe it's, I'm not using this in a bad sense, maybe it's hidden in the plan somewhere.
What's that?
But we're gonna need, data regarding the 50% limitation.
Okay, on the front page here, I have all of the calculations, and at the bottom, I show the.
Oh,
the-
okay, it's on the thing you just submitted.
Yes,
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
right?
Okay, I had looked over what was in the file
Oh, yes,
before tonight.
it's right here.
It's all here.
It's all there, and it's, so it has the existing, square footage, of the house
Okay, I
currently.
see it now.
And the 49.2%.
Rick, anything else?
Nope.
Anyone around in the audience would like to be heard to this application? No? So,
Again, I think we better, just to be safe, adjourn it for all purposes. We find out at the work session that there's nothing in the file that we're not aware of, we can still do a decision,
So you would have the decision at the next meeting.
possibly. We don't know what's in the file.
Yeah, no, I mean, my understanding was that nobody had even been in to look at it, but obviously,
well, to look at the house?
to look at the file.
Oh, not the house.
We are, of course, anxious to get started.
You have a motion?
I move we adjourn for all purposes.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I think you have the next one too, don't you?
I am.
Case number 2791, Kent Christian, 147 Woolley Street.
Lisa Zaloga, architect for Jane and Kent Christian, who own the piece of property on the corner of Woolley Street and Van Brunt. This is another pre-existing non-conforming residence that was built in the 20s. Obviously, 2 front yards. This one is R7.5 zoning. So it's kind of the reverse of the other one. They have a required front yard of 25 feet for the zoning. But because this lot, as you can see from my little composite map here, this lot is much larger, and it's actually, I think, 4 times the size of the required zoning. So the front yard setback is increased to a 40-foot setback. The existing house is, same thing, conforming on the Woolley Street side and non-conforming on the Van Brunt side. The existing house is actually set back 24 feet from Van Brunt, where 40 feet is now required. So our addition, we're actually proposing kind of 2 one-story additions that go off, one to the north and one to the west. The one that goes off to the west is set back slightly from the face of the house. And it actually, the setback that we're looking for is 28.95 feet, where 40 feet is required. So the additions are one-story additions. This is a 2.5-story house. The additions are 1 story. The hedge is 12 feet all the way around this property. And the 1-story additions happen to be 12.5 feet. The other houses in the neighborhood, especially on Van Brunt, are in the 25, this one's 16 to the porch, this one's 14.5 to the porch. The property on the corner of Van Brunt and Elm received a variance from this board, and I have those listed at the bottom of my little cheat sheet there. So, 150 Elm Street received a front yard variance to 25 feet to Van Brunt in February of 2013. The next one over, 21 Van Brunt, received a rear yard variance to 25'9", where 60 is required in '05. And then these two corner lots here, on the corner of Pelletreau and Woolley, one received a front yard variance to 25 feet for a 2-story addition in '06, plus a lot of other variances. And then the other one received front yard variances to 14 feet from Pelletreau and 26 from Woolley, and that was in '08. Again, they're 1-story additions that are the same height as the existing hedge. It is set back from the face of the building, and it's just, it's really by virtue of the fact that the lot is supersized that we are non-conforming. And the amount of square footage is 214.6 square feet that requires a variance, which is 9.2% of the residence.
So what's being added on basically is the living room and the dining room, is that it?
What's being added is a 1-story master bedroom, and that's actually the portion that requires
Okay.
the variance, the master bedroom and bathroom. And then on the other side that faces Woolley Street, which is all completely conforming, is where the resident, the family room area is. There's no bedrooms on the first floor, and my client just had
Okay.
double knee replacement surgery, so they're looking for a bedroom on the first floor.
I'm just trying to figure out, I don't have the streets on, I don't have the site plan here, so.
Would you like a survey?
I'm trying to see where the master bedroom, is that faced to Woolley Street?
Yeah.
Or is it facing the back?
The master bedroom is the side that faces the Van Brunt, so it's really the master bathroom. If you look at the master bathroom on your plan,
Yep,
that's where the, if you see right here, you'll see this line that says required setback.
yep.
That's the area, that master bathroom area is the area that's actually the 1-story portion that requires the variance.
So
And that faces toward which direction?
Van
East?
Brunt,
It faces Van Brunt.
it faces Van Brunt,
It's on the west side of the house, though, so the additions are on the north and the west side.
correct.
And we have a letter in the file that says, can't the additions be on the north or the west side rather than the south?
Well, on the
Listen.
south?
Yeah, from the neighbor.
I don't know,
I don't know.
I don't know.
But, wait a minute, if the master bath faces Van Brunt, that is the south.
It's on the west side of the existing residence.
Right, it's on the west.
Oh, okay, all right.
The addition is
Yep, yep.
here, going west, and it's stepped back from the south face of the building.
Okay,
And then this addition that goes off this way is.
that's to the north, that's to the north.
And that's to the north, and that's all completely conforming. The swimming pool is here, the pool house is here, the garage is here. To kind of put the master bedroom off where you're gonna be coming in from the garage didn't really seem to make a lot of sense.
What, do you see 147? That's where the letter came from, Woolley Street? do you know that?
147 Woolley?
Woolley.
That's 148.
There'll be a house to the north?
It's across the street, no?
No,
have that as
it's an odd
148.
number, be the same side of the street.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 142.
Oh, 142, that's
142.
this house here. They have a 31-foot setback off of Woolley Street.
Why would they even see it?
So they're not seeing the addition
You're
particularly?
not seeing
No,
anything.
they're
No.
not saying anything.
Well, hell.
And the other houses on Van Brunt Street, the front yard setbacks are all what?
Here we have 14.8. Here we have 16. And here we have 25. Oh, well,
Looks to be
24
about the
to
same, right?
25.
Oh, I mean, you're still 4 or 5 feet further back than any other house on Van Brunt Street.
Yes. Yeah, in some cases, 10 or 14 feet back further. And like I said, I'm stepped back. My closest point here is the bump out of that existing bay window that's on the house.
That's there already, though.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm stepped back from the main two-story portion of the house as well, and this is a one-story addition. It's the same height as the hedge.
This objection.
Do we have anything else?
No. I want a copy of the letter.
Is there an extra copy?
Yeah, this one.
My only objection is, the
50%
question is,
will
why
apply
is
that?
her
Give you the
closet,
letter for
you're
that?
including the cedar
It's
closet,
here.
larger than
Yeah,
his
it's
closet?
Well,
All right,
really?
Never mind. Never mind.
Dan?
No question.
Sherry? No. Rick?
No questions?
Anybody out in the audience like to hear of this application? Therefore, we'll have to do the same as we've been doing with the others.
Figured.
I move we adjourn for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you want copies of the two ZBA decisions from down the street? Do you care?
Yeah, I can put them in the file. Let them be stamped and I'll put them in the file. That takes us to case number 2792, Community Baptist Church, 111 Powell Avenue.
Rick, will I find out whether whether the decision is gonna be issued or whether I should be responding to something else prior to the meeting?
Well, we'll talk about it at the work session. We'll see what's there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Robert Fischetti. I'm a lawyer with Bennett. Sorry, that's old information. I'm a lawyer with Fernan and Fischetti.
I'm going to tell your father-in-law you said that.
Yeah. Keep that in this room. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, the Community Baptist Church of Southampton. I'm joined by many members of the church's congregation here tonight. The Baptist Church is located at 16 Reverend Raymond Lee Court, also known as Plant Street, which is a short dead-end street just extending north off of Powell Avenue. The church was incorporated in 1937, and the current church building at 16 Reverend Raymond Lee Court was constructed in 1938 and has been in continuous use by the applicant since that time. The church property is comprised of a mere 12,800 square feet, which by necessity must hold the church's more than 100 congregants for regular weekly services and even more people on holidays and weddings, funerals, and other special events. The same building, also out of necessity, is used for the applicant's daily church administration and meetings, etc. The small size of the lot has, to say the least, become a hardship over the years for the church. And just recently, the church was presented with a very unique opportunity to expand the church property by purchasing the contiguous property to the south, 111 Powell Avenue, which is the subject of tonight's application. I would just have a little bit of information for you. In here is there's an aerial photo of 111. There's an aerial photo of 111 Powell Avenue and 16 Reverend Raymond Lee Court, as well as some of the surrounding properties. There is a map of the neighboring uses, as well as a survey of 16 Reverend Raymond Lee Court and a certificate of occupancy for Reverend Raymond Lee Court as a pre-existing non-conforming church use. I had submitted with the application a survey of the subject property, but I understand you may not have that with you, so I have additional surveys so that you can see both properties. The church has recently entered into a contract to purchase 111 Powell Avenue from its current owner, Christopher DeCristofaro, upon the express condition that this board grant the approval necessary for, and this is why we're here tonight, for the church to use 111 Powell Avenue as an accessory building to contain administrative offices, meeting rooms, computer rooms, and to use the additional property for off-street parking. 111 Powell Avenue is 19,494 square feet and is presently used as a single-family residence. It has a certificate of occupancy for a pre-existing non-conforming two-story single-family residence with a detached garage and shed. A copy of the certificate of occupancy was in with the application. I unfortunately don't have a copy of that with me, or I don't have enough to go around. Both properties are located in the light industrial zone. Neither property is within the historic district. Now, the current church building, 16 Reverend Raymond Lee Court, is a 1.5-story, approximately 4,500 square foot building, which contains all of the church's affairs, and they're confined really to that one building. On a given Sunday, Reverend Raymond Lee Court is lined with cars on both sides out of necessity, because 12,800 square feet doesn't leave really any room for off-street parking at all. On holidays and special occasions, the problem intensifies, and there's kind of a flood of cars on the street. Parking was understandably less of a concern in 1938 when the church formed and took that property and started there. And plainly put, the church isn't going anywhere. It's been a part of the Powell Avenue neighborhood for 75 years, and it will continue on in perpetuity. And with that reality in mind, I think that this is an important opportunity for the church to address these logistical issues, and really for the village to address the parking issue by taking advantage of the availability of 111 Powell for purchase. It's a very unique situation in that this property, 111 Powell, is the church's only opportunity for expansion. As you can see from the second page in, the surrounding property, the only other contiguous property, is a 1.84 acre property that kind of goes around in the L shape, owned by EA&H Hildreth Corp. Really no possibility of expansion using that lot. The approval we're requesting tonight, as we see it, would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. This church has been a part of the neighborhood for 75 years. The neighborhood has kind of formed around the church, if anything, and I think the use would merely be an accessory to this long-standing use. Powell Avenue, as it stands now, is a mixed-use block with non-conforming uses on both sides. As you can see, just across from Reverend Raymond Lee Court, there's a two-family residence, a single-family residence, and then we have an auto body shop, which takes up this L shape, and then we have Riverhead Building Supply, of course, on both sides, and then some single and multi-family residences, and then further light industrial use down on this end. What we're requesting, we don't expect, or actually, let me just point out that the zone line runs right down the middle of the street, so that this side of the property is light industrial, whereas this side is R7.5, and there are several multifamily pre-existing uses on that side. There's not really expected to be any change in the flow of traffic to the lot, because we're not expanding the church. We're just expanding the church's ability to handle its current capacity. There's not expected to be any change of cars or anything like that, just more of an ability to handle those cars. The approval would really free the church from the confines of its very small lot. And as I can't stress enough, this is really the church's only opportunity in the foreseeable future. This property is up for sale now. We have a contract. We have the availability subject to this board's approval. Given the unique nature of the situation and the request, the approval is not likely to give rise to any undesired precedent or to give rise to any similar applications. I think the proposed use would arguably be more consistent with the character of the neighborhood than would a proposed light industrial use. Given that the church has been there, the neighborhood has formed around it. It's really a part of this block. The approval is not expected to have any impact on the village's general scheme of zoning. I don't think, again, it would give rise to, I don't know that there are any other churches in light industrial zones that are in need of expansion, but we feel that this is, a unique situation that we hope the board can understand and work with us on. We understand that an approval would also require us to go to the planning board to arrange for the logistics of parking and everything else, and how the lot would be arranged and the site plan. That's really all I have, except to say that, and I understand you have an issue with the files not being here, but the contract that we have signed does have some time constraints on us and some monetary penalties for extensions. So I would ask, if possible, for an expeditious decision, but I understand you have no files with you, so there's that limitation. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
About next month, is that what you're?
I'm sorry?
Is that what you mean by a fast decision?
Well, yeah, as best we can do under the circumstances.
I do have maybe one question.
Sure.
In your application, you say once you purchase the property, I guess the existing house on the property would be used for administrative offices, meeting rooms, and computer rooms. That's basically all you're asking. Like, there's no kitchen, no cooking.
Oh, no, yes, it would just
no
be an office.
apartment,
It would
no
just-
sleeping, no.
Just an accessory office. We're not looking for any sort of residential or any type of use like that. It would just be an accessory office.
I mean, why would you care about that if they had a bedroom or two?
Well, I mean, what if you were to have a soup kitchen? So then you have a commercial kitchen being put in there, which would have different, but maybe if they wanted to do that, to just come back to us for any approval for anything else they might want to. I didn't know if they considered everything that they wanted in the building.
I don't believe that's in the immediate plans, correct?
Not in the immediate.
Can you go up there? I can't record it when you're sitting there.
Oh, she's just saying there are no immediate plans to do anything like that. Of course, if we did, come upon an opportunity like that, or we'd come back to the board, but that's not part of this application.
Are you going to join the properties? They'll be held single and.
We would be open to that. The property, from what I understand, I just before coming here received a single and separate abstract. I believe this property is single and separate, but we are not opposed to merging them. The church is in this for the long haul. They want this to be, an ongoing, one piece.
You going to keep the access from Powell Ave?
No.
Could I get that on the record?
No access to on Powell Avenue. I think the thought was a more uniform entrance that would lead to parking into the church and kind of be.
You get it closer to the building.
Yes, exactly.
And I think it's a win for the church.
Yeah.
I mean, to find a piece of property that's contiguous to yours,
And it's the only possibility of a win, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a church. Who votes against the church?
Hopefully no
You
one.
don't vote against the church if you're smart, right? We have somebody raising his hand. In just a minute, sir.
The night is young.
Do we have anything else on the board? Rick?
No questions?
Anybody out in the audience would like to be heard? Yes, sir.
My name is Anthony Stevens. Go up to the microphone, please. My name is Anthony Stevens, and I'm the two-family house across the street.
Okay.
And I'm not against them purchasing the property and doing what they achieved to do, but there are questions. You asked one of them, are they going to join the properties? You asked another one, are they coming in off Powell Avenue? I'm inflicted and put out more than anybody when it comes to the church. My driveway is usually the turnaround. I can't back out of my driveway on a Sunday without being very careful not to hit anybody. cars are parked in my driveway. So, and you folks know, I'm very inconvenienced. They have a few members there that will come out and put cones so people won't park behind the driveway, but they'll pick them up and move them and park there anyway. So I'm very pleased that they're trying to buy this property, but the questions are, how are they going to conform it so it works for everybody, not just for them? Because right now, the interest for that house is Powell Avenue. Mr. DeCristofaro took it upon himself to put a curve cut in on Plant Street where there never was one. There was big hedge going down that driveway, down that road. So now, when there's an emergency on a Sunday, ambulance or fire truck can't even get down the street. So I really hope they get it, but I hope they put some thought process into how they lay it out.
Well, if they park in the lot, then they'll be off the street.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping the village puts down the sign only parking on one side of the street. That's a win-win for everybody. Because they know plenty of times the ambulance had to get to the church, and they have a hard time getting in there.
Also, if we do give it approval, it will have to go to the planning board, and what the planning board does, they'll make them do a parking plan, a curb entry plan, a lighting plan, a landscaping plan,
Right.
all that, which you should go to those meetings.
Oh, definitely.
And because then you can express your driveway in relationship to how you come in and out of that particular property.
I mean, that's my biggest concern. I mean, hey, God bless them. I hope they get it, because I can see the opportunity that it can bring. But there's some issues that we can slay together on that street.
Well, hopefully it'll work out for everybody, and the
Oh, definitely.
planning board will be the place, I
Definitely.
guess.
Thank you.
And it can't go to the planning board until we're done with it, I guess.
I would just add, I think that as was stated, that the approval requested would really resolve, I think, all of this gentleman's concerns. And of course, we would be happy to work with him in the planning board to make sure that the configuration works.
So you'd hedge Powell Avenue off and put the access through the side street. It would be best.
Yes, and I think it would dramatically clear up the street.
Well, it would be safer also, so you know,
Yes.
especially if you have cars on the street, so you're not poking out into traffic.
Absolutely.
If anybody else would like to be heard.
My suggestion on this one, particularly since it is a church and since there are some time constraints in the application, that we adjourn it for decision.
So moved.
If we find out at the work session that there's anything in the file that we're not aware of at the moment, we can always address
call
it
the
at the next
attorney.
meeting. I'm afraid if we just put it on for adjourn for all purposes, we'll lose sight of the time constraint. So
Okay,
if we adjourn it for decision, then it'll be right on the top of the agenda.
right. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So you'll have it next month,
Okay, thank you very much.
unless we find something in the files that.
Understood. Okay, thank you very much.
All right.